Today is Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor 44, Week 6.
This episode was titled Survivor with a capital S. Now, spoken by Matt. Kicking this one off at Tika on day 12. Time for a discussion about accents. We know something about that. We don't have one, but a lot of other people do,
I know. We grew up with people coming to Georgia with accents.
Yes. They stood out.
They did.
What did you think about Carolyn's pronunciation of the word bag, a thing you put other things in?
I wasn't sure if they knew what they were talking about.
Beg. She says it's a beg.
No, she didn't say beg.
Yes, she said beg.
I don't think she said beg. That's not what I heard.
That was the whole point of the discussion.
That's not what I heard.
It was beg versus bag.
Yeah, I heard it multiple different
Well, she said bag.
Yeah, she did. Not big.
At the end, she said that. It appears she might have missed the beginning of it, what kicked the whole thing off, where she said beg.
Okay, maybe.
I think I've told the story before, but...
Oh, no. You can tell it again.
I was taking my youngest sister to a school for the arts. She was dancing. She was into ballet. And it was a school in Massachusetts, and we were from Georgia, and I was driving for the trip. And we got close. We were in the town where the school was, and I thought I knew where. This was before smartphones. It was just paper maps at this point. So I was pretty sure I was on the right road, but couldn't find the school. So my mom said, well, okay, let's pull into this store, and you can go in and ask for directions. And so I did that. And I proceeded to have a discussion very similar to their exchange, where she said beg, and they had, neither Josh nor Yam Yam had the first clue what she was saying. And I remember the lady kept asking me, cake? You want cake? And I was asking for directions to the school. And it was the first time I'd spoken to someone, and this is in the U.S., mind you, both native speakers of the English language. Neither one of us could understand the other.
We've both agreed you really do need a passport to go to the South.
Yes. So my accent was, I'm sure, extreme.
Yes,
and I think hers was also for Massachusetts. This wasn't in big city. It was in a smaller town.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting exchange. And I just came back out to the car and said, Mom, I can't tell. I don't know. We're going to have to go somewhere else. Me and that lady could not communicate at all. That's why I had a flashback of that when she was saying beg. You put your groceries in the beg. Maybe that's why it stood out more for me than for you.
Well, no, I had my own experience with the first time I went into Canada, and I was given a very rough time going through because you didn't have to have a passport back then to get through. But this guy behind me had said, oh, this lady's really tough. Whatever she says to you, do not say anything back, or she will make it impossible for you to get through. And so I
got excellent advice.
Yes.
And?
But then when I came back from Montreal, when I was flying back south, I was really nervous about going through. And the guy came up and I said, hi. And he all of a sudden just started saying, everybody, over here. And everybody came running, not knowing. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done?
Mm-hmm.
And then they all gathered around and looked at him, and he looked at me and he said, go ahead, say something. I was so embarrassed.
I had that too. And I was 18 and I had just started. It's a big tech company out west here. I'd never been further west of Huntsville, Alabama. and I found myself in Arizona in that area there with the company that I was co-oping with at the time. And for this first time, I was there for like 3 months working, and I'd go back to school. So I'd make some money, pay for school, and back and forth. But those first 3 months, people came by pretty much every
Just to
day.
have you to speak.
Yes. That I would look up, and there'd be someone outside my cube, and I'd say, hey, like, like you were saying. And they would smile, and they'd say it. Say something more.
Anything.
And then
Say something
they
else.
would
Come
bring
on, talk to me.
their friends back by.
And they would just stand there and laugh. They didn't
Yeah.
want to have a conversation.
No.
They just wanted you to speak so they
Yes.
could laugh and
Yes.
go,
Right.
yeah, I know. I was so embarrassed.
So you had that at a border crossing. I was having it every day at work.
Well, I ran into that as well, but anyway,
All right.
we digress way off.
Unlike Josh, who he tells us was on top of the world at this point in the game, Matthew had bought him time, so he was extremely happy not having to go to that tribal council.
Well, he said he sure thought he was going home, but he was going to be. They must have been talking about it and were pretty certain they were going to merge after the next person went, because he seemed very confident that they were going to get off the island and merge. Mm-hmm. You know, go over and join the others. So,
Speaking of something merge-like, we bounce back over to Soka and to day 12, and they get the tree mail that says, drop your buffs. You got 10 minutes to pack and get on the boat. And then it cascades.
So what if that would keep you from, if Danny has hidden his idol outside of camp, he's got to go get that.
Sure.
So wouldn't you be suspicious of anybody that went running off instead of just staying in camp and gathering wouldn't that be a pretty good clue that somebody had an idol or
Perfect.
advantage?
I've got the perfect cover story. Ooh, stomach. I got to make a quick run to Coconut Grove. I'll be right back.
Yeah. And what if you don't go in that direction because that's not
You
where
have
it
to
is?
have to start in that direction, and then you circle back to wherever
Okay.
you hit it. But this has come up. We've heard this before.
Yeah. Okay. Then back over to Ratu,
So Tika gets the drop your buffs note, and then
Yep.
back over to Ratu.
and they tell them the others are joining them at Ratu. So everybody's going to be on their beach.
And Matthew had said in his exit interviews that there was about 2 to 3 acres at most that was livable terrain there at Ratu Beach. And there was not much in the way of food. So that's an interesting choice. They're putting them in some potentially barren landscape there when it comes to food options, according to what Matthew said at the time of his departure from the game.
So what did you think about Carson deciding to tell them that he had an idol, but it wouldn't be any good once they were all together on
So
one island?
he thought he was earning goodwill that way, or
Yeah, but
it's like I had a secret from you, but now it's expired.
Couldn't that backfire?
I think you'd be better off not saying anything.
Well, do you think when Brandon came back and knew that he probably had one because Carolyn told them about it, whoever had one, Josh, and so do you think he'd already asked him maybe if he had one? But
Perhaps.
I don't know if she shared that it wouldn't be any good once they were all on the same beach or not.
Yes, she did. And Carson isn't overly concerned with that. He's excited because this is going to bring chaos, and that's an opportunity he suspects he can capitalize on. But it did cause Lauren to share with Carson that she had an extra vote, so maybe he did gain something from it after all.
Okay. Jaime still thinks she's an MVP. Mm-hmm. Because she knows what's going on everywhere. It's like, oh, Jaime, sweetie, it's coming.
Sweet summer child, yes.
Once she figures out she does not have a real idol anymore. She only has the fake one that Matthew made. I think she's going to be really hurt when she figures out that Matthew gave her a fake idol and did all that to set her up. I think.
But by the time she finds out, it's too late. So.
Well, yeah, but she'll be going to see him.
No.
You think they sent him on home? No, they didn't.
Everyone at Ponderosa leaves now. The next one voted out is the beginning of the jury.
They've been doing that in the last few seasons.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
They've not moved them and sent them somewhere else to travel.
So the early boots are there with the jury too? I don't recall hearing that, but okay.
Okay.
All right, so we get more of the scream and greet.
We don't know for sure. But.
Kane is noting his new friends, but he's also nervous.
And Josh tells them he doesn't like Yam Yam and Carolyn.
Well, Josh shares different things with different people, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And how silly was that?
So he tells Matt and Frannie that he was happy to see them and happy to be back. And to Brandon, he tells him that he got the caged idol at Tika Beach.
And then he tells Jaime he doesn't.
Right. That she's the only one that he tells the truth to. Then we see a discussion between Jaime, Frannie, and Heidi about Josh potentially having an idol. And so they're more than happy to target him, although they're nervous about that targeting.
And Yam Yam thinks he needs to have a lot of serious conversations with people. And I thought, you might be better off just being funny and entertaining and trying to be too serious. But he does need to make some alliances if he's going to hang around for sure.
Yeah, Yam Yam was pretty worried, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I guess there was good cause.
Definitely.
Like you said, he wants to start working on influencing others, and Matt tells him, "Well, I don't hate you," and he says, "And oh, by the way, Soka wasn't cohesive, so you may have that going for you."
And I want Josh out. So, but Josh has had 9 lives, he said.
Yes,
I was I'm sure they did feel that way.
He is the Dodger,
Or was
the boy who survived.
Okay. So,
in so many ways in his life.
Carolyn, once again, has trouble fitting in, but she trusts Carson. I'm surprised she still trusts him, but she does.
That was an interesting explanation, huh? She trusts Yam Yam 94%. I guess Carson wasn't there.
I thought she said 84.
No, I think it was 94 for Yam Yam, but 99 for Carson.
Yep.
And she's definitely having trouble opening up when she's talking to Jaime.
And Carson, just wants to sit back and let all those power people take each other out, and then he'll decide what to do when that's done. And
Carolyn, well, even before that exchange at night, we saw Carolyn talking about how she recognized she couldn't force her way in, and that it comes across as a bit overwhelming to people. And we see her in typical Carolyn fashion making outbursts. Matt's talking about how bad he was sweating in some scenario, and she blurts out, "I like sweating."
yeah, they did all kind of look like, okay,
Thanks for that.
thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
TMI maybe.
Yeah, like you were saying, sorry. And when it cuts to night there on day 12, Carolyn and Carson get back together, and they're talking about, hey, we got to get the Three Stooges back together. So Yam Yam joins them, and Carson's saying our strategy should be to keep our alliance low.
Well, here's one thing. We see Matt and Frannie whispering as they're laying in the shelter. Mm-hmm. And
What did you think of what he said? If I get reward, I'm not going to take you.
Yeah, I probably won't take you. And but it's nothing personal.
Yeah.
It's just we don't want everybody to know how close we are.
As we lie together in the shelter.
Having a private conversation. Yes. I thought, I think that ship might have already sailed.
Yeah.
The fact that you're over having a private conversation, laying that close to each other in the shelter,
yes.
Whispering to each other, I don't think so.
I wanted to step back real quick. I did like Carson's plan about gathering the people on the bottom. So
sure.
It was good recognition of where he feels like he's sitting in the game, and then sort of plotting out his next move about how to gain a controlling alliance as the people who see themselves as the big dogs start picking each other off.
Okay, are we ready to go to the challenge?
Yes, immunity/merge reward challenge.
And Jeff tells them you have to earn your way to the next stage of this game.
Just thankfully, there's no hourglass. I'm good with that. So
yes.
This goofy earn the merge thing, And now, thanks to Jeff's podcast, we understand how they make decisions. They don't come at it from first principles. They don't have any guiding list of rules about how they come up with new things to try. It's just, will it shock people? Will it have will it be a TV moment? This is the ruling principle behind how they decide to do these kinds of things. So that's how we get Earn the Merge, where half the people will get a merge feast and half won't, and half are eligible to be voted out and half won't.
Same-o now. Right after the last few seasons, that's kind of, yeah,
right.
okay, same-o.
Minus the hourglass that we got in 41 and 42.
Yeah, but we've been minus the hourglass for a bit.
Since last season, yes.
Yes, so it's gone.
A bit.
Well, that's a bit.
Sure.
Okay, so random draw, 2 tribes.
2 teams.
Well, teams, tribes, whatever.
They're not tribes.
For now. First to win gets a buff and a merge feast.
Yes.
You know, a lot of them want to eat.
And they've made the merge, yes.
And they still can vote, but they can't be voted for. Woohoo!
Yeah.
They get to vote for one of the losing team.
Yep. I wasn't surprised to see the elements in this challenge, the dig the great big ball out, roll it around with opportunities for the teams to run into each other, where it's designed to have to move from left to right or right to left as you get over obstacles.
Yep.
We've seen all of these elements before.
What did you think of Danny saying that this game needs a lot of skill, but it also involves luck, like the luck of the draw and who you get on your team?
It's all the way through the game. There's a fantastic amount of luck that we don't talk about, but it's so prevalent.
Yes.
And when you get where it stands out the most for me is the revisionist history you get at the end of the season, where the winner describes how they made all these fantastic, skillful, strategic moves that got them there, when in fact we heard some people say it's 90% luck. Yeah, not even some of it, most of it.
Well, I did like that he recognized that, so I thought I'd point that out.
Yep.
But okay, for the purple team, it was Matt, Frannie, Carolyn, Jaime, Brandon, and Carson. And for the orange team, it was Heidi, Danny, Lauren, Yam Yam, Josh, and Kane. How did you think they were matched up? Did you think that was a fair?
Seemed like it, I guess, for the most part.
That it wasn't obviously that tribe's going to win or obviously that one.
Right. There was muscle was distributed. The physicality was distributed fairly well. The ability to solve puzzles seemed like it was potentially distributed well, because it comes down to a puzzle at the end, and it's one of the classic standing/hanging puzzles. In this case, it was the tree puzzle that we've seen before.
Yep. And, of course, our Carson had already been practicing that challenge that he created with his 3D printer.
So orange got their ball out first, and then purple was pretty close behind. And the orange team slammed into some of the purple team at one point where they were rolling it by, and they both end up getting to the point where they got to get the key. It was pretty close.
I really kind of thought that maybe the orange team would have had a little bit more of an advantage, because Danny and, even Yam Yam, Josh, Kane, they should have been able to really get that ball over those obstacles easily, I thought. But then I was like, wow, the purple team is doing much better. They're getting that thing over there.
Out in front. The thing that I saw was that Brandon figured out how to, when they had to roll the ball over an obstacle, up and over, Brandon turned around and he used his back and his legs to get the leverage. And with his height and his strength, I think that really gave them...
And he's got massive leg muscles.
Yes.
So.
I think that gave them a boost when he turned around like that, because everyone else was kind of hitting it front on.
Yeah, I don't know that I noticed that, but good observation. Okay. They make it up there, finally get... I thought Jam Jam would have more trouble getting up there too, but and poor Jamie, she really struggled to get up there. But Carolyn was awesome. Did you see how far she went down? That they hung her down to be able to help grab her.
I knew she was reaching down. I didn't notice it as being
Was
significant.
way down.
Okay.
I thought, and that's how they got her up. Brandon was trying to give her a push from underneath a little, and Carolyn was. I thought I could see Carolyn doing that. I'm gonna grab her and pull her up here.
Yeah, the height of that ramp and the curvature
The
of
angle,
it,
the curvature
made it
was
difficult just to give someone a boost up and be done with it.
Yeah.
So,
It's not like when they're straight up and you can stand there and let them crawl over you or your shoulders, or you can't do that with those that are curved like that. You just got to get a run and try to jump.
you can. It's just not as effective. But yeah, you can't reach the same height, obviously.
Anyway, they got her up. And,
Frannie was really impressive. She was the first one up that ramp.
oh, yeah, she
And
went
she
up
just-
alone.
Beast mode went up, Matt behind her, and then,
Yep.
like you were saying, Carolyn followed those two. They did really good getting up there.
They did, absolutely. And so they had plenty of people up there that could help pull her up if they could just get a hold of her. And so, but once they got up there, oh my goodness, Carson
had-
was so impressive.
Orange did get started first on the puzzle,
Yes,
and that
they
was
did.
Heidi and Lauren were working on it. But like you said, once they finally did get Jaime up there after a bit of a struggle, Carson just took over. And I was kind of expecting what we ended up getting after he he just finished that so quick as
Oh,
they
yeah.
cut to video of him solving the small 3D printed
Yeah.
one like that you talked about. And he says that he had worked through it 1,000 times at that point. That was
Yeah.
why it was just essentially muscle memory for him to locate a piece and get it placed in the right place, whereas Heidi and Lauren didn't have a chance.
That would have been where Matt could have helped the other tribe or team if he'd been on there.
Matthew, if he had still been in the game, you bet that he
Matthew.
probably had worked on that one, because that's a puzzle we've seen before, the hanging tree puzzle.
But Lauren and Heidi didn't have a prayer once Carson got going, because, man, he just, that was so impressive. I've only seen one other time I was that impressed with somebody to whip through a puzzle like that fast. Mm-hmm. I don't know how fast it was.
I don't know if they'll
but it
retire
seemed
this
very
one.
fast.
I guess it's possible, but what do you think about that? What do you think about the fact that they don't change the puzzles enough so that someone can do what Matthew and Carson have demonstrated so far?
Yes, but look how many people have studied it to that point. They don't do it. That's not common.
You're saying that there's been an opportunity.
There's
and
been
they
an
don't.
opportunity for a long time, and people
Just like learning
just
how to
don't.
make fire in a way.
Exactly.
I think they could put a little more effort into the puzzles so
I think
that
they kind of like it.
it would be unique. Well, I think sure, it saves
It's
them
like,
money.
hey, if you got somebody doing that and they want to study it and learn it and come in and blaze through it, then
You're all for
more
that?
power to them. Sure.
Yeah, I would actually prefer they were more challenged and that they had something fresh they were tackling, because it isn't that big a deal.
Well,
for
they
them to
could
make
tweak
new
it
elements.
a little bit, but I still think he would.
Yeah.
He would have had an advantage just practicing it so much, even if it wasn't, because I don't know if it was exactly the same as anything else.
He said he had solved it 1,000 times already.
Yeah, and maybe it was exactly the same, but
Because he built his models
wouldn't
off what
know
he
it.
saw in the show.
yeah, I wouldn't know it. Okay, well, Carson won.
Yeah.
As
Gets
Jeff said, you won. Here's your buffs. So Jeff wanted to acknowledge that too, I guess. So, but I thought, ooh, I hope that doesn't put a big target on his back, though, that people want to get rid of him.
You know why it
because of
didn't?
that.
Because he was giving them their buffs. They were completely distracted. They
Yeah.
had just made the merge, and they were getting their merge buffs.
And they were going to get to eat, so they didn't care.
It,
But the other people might, long term.
And it wasn't like when Evie solved that one puzzle, and Prop said, "We're going to have to retire that."
Yeah.
So He didn't make that declaration for Carson this time.
What did you think about Jaime crying after when they got their buffs and she was crying and she didn't want to let her tribe down and
Tears of relief because she let her tribe down. I understood
but you
it.
did let her tribe down.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I'm acknowledging. You did.
And
but they were
not,
relief.
Not sure why Carolyn was crying with her.
Well, there's an opportunity for her to share her emotion with everyone, and she wants to be her authentic self and share that.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I think it was because she truly wanted to make the merge so badly, and she'd just been handed a merge buff.
There you go.
Mr. Skeptical. Don't make me have to hit you or something. I don't know what.
Okay.
He's giving me a look.
I'm not giving you a look. I'm just waiting to see what you're saying.
Okay.
Back at camp, we got Yam Yam and Heidi and Josh and Danny and Kane, and Yam Yam tells us it's me. So I say we vote Josh.
At that point, I was like, yeah, sure, let it be you. If that's, be defeatist.
He knew he had made a mistake when Danny said, you know what, I think I'm going to wait until the people who are immune, the 6 that are merged, get back and see what they say.
And if they say Josh, well, then it's Josh.
Yeah.
And if they say it's you, well, guess it's you.
Basically, Danny's saying, you've spoken out of turn. You might want to wait to share things like that.
Well, he got the message. Ooh, I messed up.
Yes.
I thought,
Said too much once again. Poor impulse control.
I was a little concerned. Josh was telling Lauren and Heidi that he's going to vote for Yam Yam, that he can't trust him. Mm-hmm. And they were like, sure, they were on board for that.
We're down for that.
Yep. And
when Josh left, they had a discussion just amongst themselves.
Yep.
About Josh's potential idol, and they had both heard that he might have one. So Heidi's wondering what their plan B would be.
I don't understand why Jaime didn't tell. Why is she protecting his secret that he told her? Or maybe she did share it with someone, but
I'm not following what you're saying. Jaime's not part of these discussions yet.
No,
she's at the feast.
But I was talking about at the feast. She didn't really say, he told me he didn't. I didn't hear her say that. Did you?
No, it was more important to see Carolyn be ignored.
Okay. Well, I kept wondering, well, why doesn't Jaime
Plus, there were
say?
cupcakes. There were cupcakes at the feast.
So?
Well, that's pretty important.
Well, of course it is. What's that got to do with the discussion?
Let's talk about the feast.
We are talking about the feast. I'd already gone to the feast, baby. Okay.
Cut to Jaime taking the credit. It was her and her wand. Bring, bring, bring. She made it all happen. She manifested it, hon.
Well,
we had missed that.
It's a good thing she's got a wand then, because she sure couldn't do the challenge.
Couldn't wand herself up that ramp, could she? Jaime asked the big question. So who's the threat? Matt doesn't hesitate. He throws out Josh, and Frannie is quick to follow.
But Jamie's thinking someone else. And they ask Brandon, well, how do you feel about Kane? Brandon's like, well,
Brandon said he needed
friends, but he's okay with it.
They needed a plan B in case Josh really did have an idol, because there was some confusion. Yeah.
But then Carolyn tells them the story about, how they knew it was fake, but she just didn't get the response. She's like, they don't believe me.
Well, and she answered her own question. So that's
what got you. You're like, you don't answer your own question.
It's one of the quickest ways to undermine the point you're trying to make, to ask them a question and then answer it yourself. And they were like, okay, yeah, thanks, Carolyn. Well, we should plan for if he does actually have an idol. So Carolyn now twice has been in a setting where there's a meal shared. She shares something and is completely ignored. I did enjoy that part.
I don't think she always delivers her story well.
Oh, absolutely does not.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
I thought
doesn't understand.
Maybe Yam Yam needed to tell the story and about how
that would have been a great moment.
It fell apart in his hands practically, and that it was the big. I think
That's what we were
that
talking
might
about
have
in the
been more
commercial.
believable. Yeah.
Wasn't it? That we wanted to see that.
Yeah, we
where
wanted to
she's
see
there,
that.
where Yam Yam is essentially saying
You
the
wanted
same.
her there to
Yes.
see them listen to him when they didn't listen to her.
Yes.
I wasn't after that, but you
Well,
were.
it was so she could see how to tell the story in a convincing way.
And no, it was so you could get a laugh watching her react to they listen
The
to Yam Yam, but
frustration.
not her. You're not kidding me.
And then it started to pour down rain on the feast.
Well, it didn't stop them from eating, though.
Definitely not Jamie. She was happy to chew on that soaking wet cracker she had.
Yep. And she says Josh's name, but, then she asks the question, but does he have an idol? Well, that's what I was referring to earlier when I said he told her he didn't have an idol. Did she actually not believe him, or is she just not sure who she wants to vote for yet, so she's hedging?
Well, the picture we've been given of Jamie so far is someone that is erratic and isn't believed necessarily. So she's in her own way. She's got similar challenges to Carolyn.
And believes she knows way more than she does.
Yeah.
It just, at least from what we've been shown so far.
So the 6 that are merged arrive back at the shelter where it is still raining, and Frannie says they recognize there's not enough room under the shelter, and she says, well, over by the caves we can get some cover. And so there's a group of them that head over there to talk.
And Fran tells Josh that it's going to be Kane. And then Josh tells Yam Yam that it's going to be Kane.
What'd you think about their exchange? That looked like they were working something out.
Yeah, it did for a minute and a half, anyway.
Briefly. But after the double shake on it, it seemed like it fell apart when Yam Yam said, hey, why don't you give me your idol? And Josh said, no.
Yeah. I thought, wouldn't that be... I really liked that he at least asked.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. Well, if they're voting for me, why don't you just give me your idol? I thought, okay, does that mean that you believe that that it was real now? Or are you just seeing what he will say?
I think he was just pushing buttons. Because he had an opportunity to toy with Josh a little and make him squirm.
Yeah. Okay, well, then we see that Brandon does hope that Kane goes, that he doesn't really trust him.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd rather see Kane go than Josh.
Brandon tells us as long as everybody can keep this to themselves, we'll be okay.
Oh,
We've got a
jeez.
plan B with Kane. Cut to Carson talking to Kane. This would be Carson, who at the merge feast had said they need to be careful and keep this quiet.
He's just going to sit back and let it happen. He tells Kane that Soka's pushing for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he included the whole Soka tribe.
Yes.
Soka's pushing for you.
So Kane goes to verify that. He goes to his buddy Brandon and says, hey, is my name coming up? And Brandon says, yes. Kane decides, well, why not Yam Yam?
Yeah, why not Yam Yam? Why are you using my name? Why use his name, not mine? So then they go in that direction a bit.
Kane starts working his magic, spreading that story. He goes to Danny and Heidi and says, hey, let's vote out Yam Yam. Let's make him the plan B and not me.
Well, and Matt gets on board with that. He's like, okay.
Sure, as
Then
long
they
as it's
don't
not
have
me.
to worry about an idol.
Yeah.
Just vote him out. They don't have anything.
That even seems like it should be the more preferential choice. Why not just go all in on that, since there's no perceived idol, no advantages, because there's nothing there and there's been no opportunity to get one.
They also want to flush the idol if he does have one.
Yes.
So that's part of it, is that they don't really specifically highlight that they're going to split the votes, but they had talked about it. So
I understood that to be the case every time they said Plan B.
Yeah.
That meant there was a split. And my boy Matt, who's headed to his first tribal council, so that
no vote,
that he can get rid of the no vote stigma that he's had.
That's not his first tribal council.
No, that's right.
he's already used one of the, he had two no-vote
so
tribal councils.
He can get rid of
This
the
is
second one. You're right. Thank you. But he is serving as a great narrator multiple times during this episode, and he gives us the title at this point. Now we're playing Survivor with a capital S.
And highlights how very complex it is going to tribal with 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a whole different game at this point.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Tribal Council there, night 13, another 2-day cycle. Carson catches the first question. What's the biggest difference? And that's what he's highlighting too, the chaos and the need of that chaotic element to force them to rely on trust that had been previously established. And Kane echoes that when he's asked about his approach. Yeah, you got to go with the belief and the trust that you've come up with so far.
And then Yam Yam's like me, and my big mouth gets me in trouble.
Not only here, but in real life.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
to demonstrate, I'll continue to talk, Jeff, while you continue to look at me. That was a good moment. I enjoyed that.
Well,
That's why I don't want Yam Yam to go. I don't want to miss out on more Yam Yam moments. The JJMs.
Well, that's what I
YYMs.
thought. Do whatever you can to entertain those people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because they already think you're an easy vote out. So
Josh gets asked what's it like for him from his experience because he got to be on Soka and Tika, and because he was coming fresh from just being 3 people on Tika, and he takes that opportunity to remind him, oh yeah, but I've got a Soka connection too, so I'm much better off. Way to raise your threat level there, knucklehead.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon gets asked if he's concerned about idols, and he says yes. There's been much talk of both real and fake ones.
Yep. Well, what did you think of Yam Yam admitting he's very scared and asked Jeff, can we just have no vote this week and do 2 next week?
Yes.
Would that be okay? And we could just go on back to camp, Jeff? Can we do that?
Yeah, that was good. It was a good ploy. I like that. I think you made Jeff smile.
Yeah. Okay, so it's time to vote. And everybody runs off, does their vote. Carolyn's distracted by something she had as a child that she saw on the wall.
That she's been in the voting booth multiple times at this point, but somehow only now manages to recognize it.
Well,
and you immediately called squirrel.
Squirrel.
Yes. So.
Well, but I do things like that, where I'm like, oh, squirrel moment.
All right, finally, Matt is out from under the double no vote.
Yep,
so.
No vote for you. Go back to your seat, but at least it's over now. So
time to count the votes. We see Josh reaching for his bag, and then nothing.
Like he's going to play an idol.
Semi-dramatic moment. Not so much, but okay.
So they were all like, yes, no idol played.
So first vote for Yam Yam. Then a vote for Josh, and then
One
a little
for
bit of
Kane.
a surprise. Yeah, vote for Kane comes up. And then Yam Yam and Josh go.
That voted for Kane?
Carolyn.
Carolyn, yes.
She didn't want to have to write down Josh or Yam Yam's name. Mm-hmm. She wanted to write down someone's name who's still in the game.
I think they didn't want to tell Carolyn who they were really voting for because she would tell Yam
That's a better
Yam.
explanation.
And they told her to vote Kane.
Mm-hmm.
We're voting Kane. And she went, right, I'll vote Kane.
So maybe she passed a trust test. Maybe someone's going to trust her a little more now. So Yam Yam and Josh go 2 for 2, 3 for 3, and then Josh takes the win. Josh is voted out.
Josh doesn't get the win, but he wins.
For being voted out, yes. He wins the most votes to make an exit from Tribal Council just before the merge.
Yep, so after 6, Jeff said, that's it, we're done.
Yes.
And
he makes his exit, and everyone else gets their merge buffs. We are now merged.
Snuffs his torch.
So what'd you think about how this one played out?
I enjoyed it, but I would have liked to have had even more time. I would like for the merge episodes to be at least an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we could get more of the interaction between the people coming together.
To really take a dive into everyone's angle on
Yeah.
what's going on, how they're thinking about it, and how they're changing.
Though I don't know how much anybody's going to really trust until after the first vote to see where it goes and who did what they said they would, who didn't.
It's like hitting the reset button at this point in the game.
Yes.
And it is a different game at this point, so.
It's like, okay, got to go back to the start of this is basically the first vote at Tribal Council. Got to see how everybody's really leaning. Doesn't matter what they say, it matters what they do. So we found out that Jaime, Frannie, Lauren, Carson, Danny, Heidi, and Yam Yam all voted for Josh. Mm-hmm. And Josh, Brandon, and Kane voted for Yam Yam, and Carolyn voted Kane. I guess they wanted that extra backup protection, both to distract Carolyn and...
What do you think about that being Brandon and Kane being the ones that threw them towards Yam Yam, in addition to Josh, like you said, that it was Brandon and Kane together that formed the Plan B? Do you think there's any significance to that?
I think they
talked it all out and just went,
they all
okay,
talked it out and said, okay,
we'll keep
vote
a couple
for this,
for him,
and you can vote for that, and this is what we're doing. And at that point, it didn't matter. They just divvied up the votes. They really wanted Josh, but they wanted a backup, so if Josh and Yam Yam or Carolyn, if they gathered up, that they couldn't get somebody else out. If they put 3 votes on somebody, they want to make sure that Yam Yam had at least 3 votes, because they probably weren't sure where they were going with that.
Like you said, you can't be sure until you see the votes.
And Kane was just a backup and a distraction for Carolyn, was what I thought.
Or a loyalty test.
All of the above.
Which I think is appropriate for someone as erratic as Carolyn in the context of the game.
And Matt gets his vote back. Yay! All right.
So what did you think about Josh's game?
I think he thought he played so much better than he actually did. I don't think he had any clue that the people on his on Soka,
right,
his original tribe, wanted him out.
Right. So
he
bad.
Thought he was,
like intensely.
Yes. Yes. I wouldn't have been surprised if they decided to throw a challenge just to get him out or something. I don't know why they were so adamant they wanted him out.
Maybe it had something to do with the lying.
Could be.
Because in a game where you can trust no one and you got to have trust, he's blatantly, left and right, seems to be willy-nilly throwing lies out.
Yeah, if you're going to lie...
And unnecessary lies.
If you're going to lie, you need to tell the same lies. Over and over.
Yeah.
To everyone. Tell them the same lies.
Maybe good ones that are semi-plausible. Yes.
Yeah. Don't just lie just to lie.
He seems to, from the small picture that we get from the edit, he seems to be someone to me that probably was in for this really eye-opening realization. I think the capacity of recognizing it might be there, but it's to the point. It's classic. I've often wondered how many people go on thinking they're A and come to find out everyone else sees them as Z. Like, it's so different than what you thought. Your day-to-day...
You don't know how you're perceived, truly.
You're a surgeon, and so people are used to putting you on default for trust, probably, and his experience...
So you're saying he doesn't normally have to deal with it in everyday life?
Definitely not.
He's just given the trust because
so
he's the surgeon. Yeah.
at doing this. But once again, it's a great example too of how that, you know, all that schooling does you no good in the context of the game.
Yeah. Well,
and you can go back to season 1 and see this with another surgeon who had the most idiotic voting strategy in the history of the game.
I don't think Josh would have even made the merge if Carolyn hadn't been so frustrated and angry with Sarah and Yam Yam. Mm-hmm. If they had included her and said, well, what do you want to do? What do you think we should tell? If they'd done anything like that and included her, I don't think she would have joined up with Josh for that vote.
Maybe. Josh also had an idol, so he was going to be safe.
Yeah, but... Well,
in that
when
scenario,
she found that out, that made a difference. But she still approached him before she knew that. So anyway, his game wasn't what he thought it was, because that's one reason that I chose him as the vote off for tonight.
You know why I had him safe? Because he was the boy who lived. He kept dodging everything.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was a big part of his story. So I think he's going to make it through this.
Well,
And Operation Meat Shield's going to go in. Why else did they invest us in that?
yeah, you chose
Brandon,
yeah,
to be voted out.
Voted out, which is good because he's a very big threat. But I really thought that it could be between Yam Yam. I don't think Yam Yam will be there very long if he doesn't make some good alliances. He seems to be such an easy vote, and I think that was proved tonight. But I kind of thought it would be either him or Josh. But I went with Josh because I kept going, but why did his original tribe dislike him so much? And now they don't like him in this other tribe, and probably Ratu doesn't care one way or the other. And he would just be an easy vote.
Well, you were right, and I was wrong.
Well, for the first time this season, I was right. I actually finally got a vote off after, what is this, the 8th person going out? Even 2 were a medical, but still. 6 votes to get 1 right. So
Next time on Survivor, Kane is on a quest for magical items. He tells us it's like playing D&D. Aha! Except in a really high-pitched voice.
And we saw a key hanging from a tree.
He was retrieving something hanging from one tree, and there was a key hanging in another tree behind him. So is there some kind of
whoever finds the key is safe?
that for multiple items, I guess?
I don't know.
He's potentially retrieving one, and there's another one nearby.
You wouldn't think it would be for the birdcage again.
Yeah.
So I have no idea, but he's looking for those magical items.
We see other people running through the jungle too.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of hunt going on for things.
Yep.
Treasure hunt.
Lauren tells us we've got to break up that couple.
Well, and because just prior to that, we get Matt telling us that he can't describe how important Frannie is to him.
Yep.
Yeah, and so now Lauren's going to target them.
It's been noticed, Matt. And then Jeff tells us there's a twist. You will have no say in who goes home. And they're at the immunity challenge.
Yeah, you can see the individual immunity necklace hanging there beside him. Mm-hmm. What's up with that?
Well, I guess we're going to find out next week. We're going to have to wait a whole week.
Uh-huh.
We'd like a little bit more of a clue there, Jeff.
Anything else you want to say about next time on Survivor? Who do you think's the next big target? Is it going to be Yam Yam? Is Kane going to make a reappearance? Is Carson going to start assembling the alliance of the people on the bottom?
I wouldn't think so yet.
Too early, potentially, for that.
Yeah, I think it's a little too early.
Still, you haven't tested the water for sure to know who that is.
If Kane finds out that Brandon was okay voting for him, he might try to retarget him again. You would expect some of these people to start, trying to pick off the strong guys. But
I actually thought it would start this time just with a different one.
Well, and it did. Josh was one of the stronger guys.
He was part of Operation Meat Shield that Danny and Brandon had launched, yes.
But a strong guy that nobody trusted. And that made him, and
easy pickings.
Yam Yam would be an easy pick for people.
Seems like it. I think his threat level's probably going to drop too. Things do change for certain players at the merge.
Yeah.
Like, Jaime has an opportunity to blend into the background.
I don't know. I just think that I just get the feeling she's going to annoy people. And she's so overly confident because she thinks she's safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she thinks she's really in the middle of it and she's not at any threat. And I don't think that's true.
So here's where we stand with advantages and idols. Carson's is expired. Jaime's
real idol has expired.
Lauren's sitting on an extra vote advantage. Danny has an immunity idol. Carolyn has an immunity idol.
That's it. Carolyn and Danny have immunity idols.
And Jaime and Matt both think they have idols, but they are indeed fake.
Yep, so they could trip both of them up as well. Unless Danny needs Matt and somehow relays to him that he thinks it's fake.
Well, when he orchestrated that whole thing when Matt got the fake idol, we saw that it did potentially give Matt some protection. It looked like it might be helping him in a way. This idea that others had that, hey, I think he found it. He's got a
But you
real
said
idol.
that Claire said she told Frannie that it was fake.
But we've seen no
But
indication.
did Frannie believe her or not?
We've seen no indication that Frannie shared that with Matt.
Or
And
that she believed it.
where I was going with that is that may offer some protection for Jaime too.
Yeah, could be. The only ones that are absolutely safe are Danny and Carolyn if they play their idols. And whoever wins immunity. And we don't even know how that's going to happen or how they're going to do the vote, or that's kind of up in the air again. They keep leaving it hard to decide because they put it up in the air so much.
Maybe Kane's quest for magical items, and next time on Survivor is some keys that'll give him an opportunity to gain an advantage.
Keys, huh?
Yeah, physical keys.
Yes.
How about a JSFL update?
Okay, we had 13 people who lost their USB. Hatter is in first place with 29 points. 33 people lost a safe point.
Me included.
Yep. And 112 people earned a vote-off point.
You included.
Along with me, yes. In the side challenge, Jeremiah and Rebecca are still tied for first with 27. Chris with 26. Justin and Randy 25. With 24, we have Cold, Mike, Drew, Parker, and Robert. With 22, Stacy. And with 21, Lisa Ray.
I just did dodge the basement, but that was
You did.
my
barely.
boldness backfired for sure.
Your boldness? You mean in putting Josh safe?
Yes, I thought the boy who lived would live again through
Even though you
through murgatory.
knew that I had chosen him as my vote off.
I never let your choices influence mine.
Yeah, well, most of the time you don't even know till after we've done it. So sometimes we remember to tell each other who we voted for. Sometimes we
More
don't.
fun to find out in the moment, yes.
Yeah, usually before it starts, we'll say, now, who did you vote for? And who
Right.
did you have safe? Who did you choose? And sometimes it's fun because we're like, hey, I chose them too. And we were both wrong.
You know what else is fun?
What?
Finding what the other super fans thought about this episode and the choices they made and
Absolutely.
how they interpreted the choices that the castaways made. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they thought about this episode. Did you have something?
We do have to mention something else.
Oh, about JSFL. Yes.
Yes.
We are at a critical juncture in the game.
Yes, so next Wednesday, April 12th, will be your only opportunity to choose a new USB this season.
That was kind of a potentially confusing way to say it. Between now and next Wednesday, right? Or does it start next Wednesday?
No, it starts when it rolls over tonight.
Okay.
So tomorrow,
You have until Wednesday.
you have until the deadline, 7:30 Eastern,
Gotcha.
4:30 Pacific, on April 12th to get your new USB selected. If you don't want to change your USB,
Do
you
nothing.
don't have to do anything.
Nada.
Don't even go in there. Just forget about it.
Skip
Now,
that page.
if you're like me and your USB has already left the game
Right?
and you want to choose another USB for a possible 5-point bonus if they win, then you may do so. And if your USB, like Stacy, is still in the game, you can choose. If you think Matt has no chance, you can change to someone else that you think has a better chance, but only for a 10-point possible bonus.
So I would give up
you would give up
24
24 points for Matt.
and possibly get 10 from someone else. So I've got an
Yes.
opportunity to pivot.
Now, if you
to
go
another
in and
choice.
change to somebody else and then you decide you want to go back to
Oh
Matt,
no, I'm going to go back to Matt. What happens?
you still only get 10 points for it.
Ooh,
You lose
Don't do
the
that.
option.
don't do that.
If you change it, you can't go back.
You've changed it.
You can go back to him, but not for 24 points or whoever your USB is. That's how it works.
If you make a change, you lose 14 points.
Okay, now you can.
Yes, back to finding out what other people thought, how they're looking at this, how it factors in your JSFL game too, or you think about switching your USB choice if you're playing in a fantasy league with us. We're looking forward to hearing all that and more. The voicemail line is 206-350-1547, toll free 844-643-8737. You can record your own audio and attach it to an email and send it to us, or you can write it up in an email if you're not quite comfortable having your own voice on the podcast, and we will read your email into the listener feedback show on your behalf. The email is joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com. Feedback is due noon Pacific time on Saturday, and we ask that you keep it in that 3-minute range so that we can get everybody in there. And
right.
The sooner you get that feedback in, the sooner that Joanne and I can get it prepped for the show, because sometimes we get avalanches on Saturday morning.
To have a process, yes.
Yeah, so we love that. And we've had a great group of folks participating. We would love to have you come join us, share your thoughts. What do you think about this merged tribe? Who do you think is pulling ahead?
Who should I choose for my new USB?
Who's going to be the controlling alliance in this next episode? It's interesting to think about, because we don't have a lot of clarity on that level yet.
Yeah, we still don't know yet.
There are more tests coming before the lines get really solid.
But that's why we do it right after the merge.
Yeah.
So you still have to kind of guess.
Sure. You betcha. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's it. Everybody have a good one.